Fore play, presented by Barstool Sports. Everyone is on edge, and there is a lot to talk about. Golf is popping right now. Outside of golf, we have our very own Frankie Borrelli, who is basically at war against the entire city of Boston, personified perfectly by Mr. Tank Top Guy. So we got a lot to get to. Owen's Mixers, okay, they are our title sponsor. They have been with us for a very long time. They will be with us for a very long time. They partnered with us to create our favorite cocktail, the Barstool Transfusion by Owen's Mixers, which you pour in with New Amsterdam vodka. You make yourself a nice cocktail. You pour it in with ice. You get a Paloma if you're a lurch kind of figure, and you just make awesome drinks with Owen. So a big thanks to Owens. They're at Kroger. They're on Amazon. They're at like CVS's now, I think, that I was seeing. They're all over the place. So pick up some Owens. Have yourself a nice cocktail. Enjoy your life. It's summertime. It's hot all over the country. Get something refreshing. You don't want something heavy and gross and mucky. Ugh. No, you want something delicious, fresh. Owens makes that possible. So, gentlemen, hello. Frankie, how are you? Are you alive? You surviving? You feeling good? Your face looks really nice. Good complexion right now.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We have some trouble with the lighting in this room. And Lurch took offense to that. But what's going on in my
face is washed out. I don't look good. My face, the lighting's washed out.
See, I never said it like that. Lurch has this thing where like anyone smaller than him in the human body has this like high-pitched, scrawny little voice. That's not what happened.
I'm just completely tone deaf, so I can't really mimic anybody.
The screen is just whatever. We're not going to get into that.
Whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
Whatever.
Why?
Lurch used to call Lurch one of the most kind of degrading things is me and a couple of our buddies. Lurch would just call us sub 6 footers sometimes. Like
such a Lurch
that
thing.
Really, yeah, that would be a big time. It was a pretty funny chirp actually. Just be like, oh, what are you up to, you sub 6 footers? Yeah.
Yeah.
5'11",
Some people care deeply about it. Exactly.
I think you care a lot by putting out that chirp.
No, it's just some people like you got a chip on your shoulder about things but I don't think it's anything to do with your height, honestly. But other people care. Like one of my buddies from college, McDonald, always wanted to be 6 feet, would write it on, the lacrosse roster, whatever, 6 feet, and then doctor certified, like 5'10" and a half. So just for those people, it's a good chirp. Whatever gets.
It's no secret, guys. Guys want to be taller. It'd be nice to be like 6'4". Like that's just pretty sweet as a guy.
I wish I were 6'2". Cool. 6'2" would be perfect. I'd take 6'1". I'm 5'11" 3/4. I'm almost there.
You're nipping at it.
But I go the other way. I understand wanting to be 6 foot. Your boy wants to be 6 foot really bad. But also, if I'm 5'11" 3/4, I'm 5'11" 3/4. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, am I 5'8", 5'9"? No. And I feel for those guys because all of those guys want to be taller. And I understand that.
So you could give them a sub 5'10" 10 and a half or 5'10", because sub 5'10", you're starting to get small.
Yeah.
A lot of honor in saying 5'11" 3/4, not just rounding up to 6. Because with shoes on, you're probably 6.
Probably, yeah. But I also I want the people to know who aren't 6 foot that it's not the end of the world. We don't have to be 6 foot. It's fine.
Yeah, and you are right in that I've never even really considered I wish I was a few inches taller. I do think if you're in the 5'8" range, you probably think about that a decent amount of the time. But I don't know. I'm not 5'8". Yeah, I would really think so. There's a lot we could start with. There's an enormous amount of things that have happened in the last 4 days. I think people are personally invested in what goes on with these 4 personalities here on this show. So Frankie, you've been the center of attention, I would say, for the last, week with the Islanders versus the Bruins. Some of the most all-time memorable clips and photographs in the history of Barstool Sports have happened with you in the last week, and both sides of it. I mean, life is a full circle, is just looking every other day at what is happening with you on the internet from 7 p.m. until 11 p.m. at night, and it's how are you feeling? How is your brain? You seem a little bit on edge, if we're going to be honest with each other in the trust tree.
Yeah, a little on edge. It's just a stressful time in my life. I never in my entire life thought that I'd be an enemy in a city. Ryan Whitney in Boston was like, dude, you have to kind of feel kind of cool that you walk into a bar and the entire bar is booing you, screaming, fuck you, Frankie, because you represent the team that they're playing in the playoffs. They're not even booing the people on the ice. They're not booing the screen. They're not booing the Islanders. They're legitimately the entire night, 1,000 people in a Boston bar to watch the Bruins screamed, fuck you, Frankie. And there's a part of that that's fucking awesome. It's how many athletes in the world go to a city and become a fucking villain? It's crazy. Trey Young goes somewhere and he's like, now he's the enemy of the Knicks. But I show up to Boston and why aren't you booing Ryan Pulak? You know what I mean? Like, come on, I'm not doing anything. So that part's been fun, very stressful. A couple people very mean in Boston, but we got through it and I got my little revenge and now we go to Borelli's. The thing is, like, I wanted to be able to not explode and celebrate too much, but like, because I was like, oh, what if they just lose the series? But then I thought to myself, like, then what's the point of having like the series? What's the point of having fun if you're not going to die and live with each game? You're going to have your assholes that are going to be like, this didn't age well. But you know what? It aged perfectly fine because that day that I crowd surfed, we won. That day that I cried, we lost. That day that I told the entire city to go suck my fucking dick, we won. Like, there was nothing that changed. There was no aging. It's not wine. It's not cheese. No. It's not a dry rubbed steak at Teller's Chop House, which I went to the other night. Unbelievable steak. I got a nice bone in New York strip. Whoa.
Oh, you went with the strip. You went with the
finally.
Strip. Are you a committed strip guy now?
You know, it was very different. It was a lot more flavor, but I did miss the consistency of the fillet. But yeah, I liked the strip. It was very good. Just a nice cut of meat. But yeah, man, I'm happy. I'm excited. Borelli's has about 1,000 people piling into it today. And it's just never in my life did I think it was going to be like that.
You're standing on top of a chair yelling at hundreds of strangers in a different city that fuck you, suck my dick. You're yelling.
They didn't do anything about it. Nothing. They just kind of took it.
The great thing is that, like, you have that in you. Like, you're Frankie Borrelli, you know, your family owns an Italian restaurant, but you also are an Islander psycho. Like, we've been telling people about psycho Frankie for years now, and now you just get to see it on full display where you have to go into the lion's den, and if they're going to give it to you, you're going to give it right back. Like, that's... To not fully commit to that, because that is actually who you are in those moments, would be ridiculous. So I think, like these guys are saying, the pictures that are coming out, the videos that are coming out, like, no matter what happens in this series, like, those moments are going to be etched in Barstool history forever, and they're fantastic.
Dude,
it's like Muhammad Ali type pictures, honestly. Like, it's like a sparring match.
Unreal.
And then if you're the one editing those photos, they're incredible. The way that you're like popping in the image, and then all these people are almost in like black and white looking at you like they want to kill you. And also, Boston fans they're great fans, you know, in terms of they want to win so badly. You're a tremendous Islanders fan. It's pretty much all you care about in this life, or I would say like 90% of this life. And no, I remember one time I was up in Boston, I wore a Richter's jersey, and it was just like a regular season game. I think the Rangers won 3-1. I sat there, I didn't really say anything, but obviously I was wearing that Rangers jersey, Frankie, that you know. And then at the end of the game, I just stood up and gave this really loud kind of clap when it was over. And then one kid below me looked up and he goes, "Come to Sully's Tap, I'm going to knock your fucking teeth in." And then he starts coming over the chairs at me because I just kept clapping. And his buddy, thank God, held him back because I didn't want him to do anything with that.
Yeah, man. It's the craziest thing for me is that, like, I've been doing this, like you said, Trent, forever, just in my room or going to Borelli's. That's how these streams, like, that's how that, like, setting of the stream started at Borelli's, the commercial, New Amsterdam, shout out New Amsterdam vodka. Me and my dad would go in the back of Borelli's, we'd go to our house and we'd just watch the game anyway, playoff game. We'd make it an event. And now to be able to be like, all right, I'm going to do this thing that I've been doing my whole life, and now 1,000 people are going to be on my side and they want to come in and experience it with us. The natural progression of that is so cool to see. Like, the fact that I didn't really have to do it, I just had to watch the Islander games like I always do. You know what I mean? It's
right.
Kind of crazy. I wish I was in the Coliseum? Yes, but Dave knows content. He knew that it was going to be insane going to the opposing city, and it worked out.
It's also cool that you're there, like, representing a massive amount of people that feel the way that you feel. Like, it's not like you're just a heel that's a really hated person in the WWE and the only person that likes you is you. You're actually like... You are representing thousands and thousands of people in Boston that like you're gonna go home and you're gonna have the home field. But for this week, these 2 nights, like, I'm here representing my people, motherfuckers, and like here we go. Like, that's what's cool, is that you have that crowd.
Yeah, and the crowd got crazy. I gotta give a shout out to John from Isles Fanatics. He runs one of these ridiculous Instagram pages that have like 18,000 Islander psychos that love to just talk about everything. I love them. But man, I sent him one message, like, you think we can fill out Borelli's? Because like the first night was okay, like that we did it. Then that second night when Stu Feiner came, this guy, Isles Fanatics, had that place filled to the gills. I mean, just Islander fans just show up, man. So I had to give a shout out to him. And then the photos aren't edited, Ben. We have this guy, Dennis De Silva. He does the Islanders photos for the Islanders. He's the one that takes them coming out of the tunnel. Bro, he was taking photos and then it was going straight to his phone from his camera, and he just airdropped them to us. Like every photo was just straight from the camera.
The ones from Hurricanes up in Boston?
So that was another guy, I forget his name, but same. He showed it to me on his camera and just airdropped it to me. Just sent it to me.
They're so good because it is like you're going 13 rounds, honestly, with everybody in that bar or whatever.
The one?
They're so good. I guess, hold on, Rick, before you ask a question, I want to know, because Frankie, this is within you. For the 1,200 people or whatever that you're going to pack into Borrelli's, is there any background research being done on these 1,200 to ensure that they're all Islanders fans?
Island. I mean, there will be a couple Bruins fans, which is fair. Like, that's okay. There was like 1 or 2 Islander fans in the bar that I heard just like after we scored, I heard like a yeah in the background of the bar. But no, I mean, it's classic Borrelli's. Like, I got like my girlfriend, she's gonna be checking IDs at the door. My dad's got like 2 cooks coming in. Dude, we only fit like 280 people, so we have the outside overflow. We have TVs in the parking lot tonight, so it's like it's gonna be a fucking war zone. But the thing that I'm gonna change about tonight is every person behind the camera I will know, like in that back room. So that we kind of avoid, like, we had a couple problems last time. This guy in the green shirt, he got a little too crazy. He said some things that will probably end up putting him in jail at some point. I mean, he was on a live stream. It was crazy. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we had a couple of issues. And so tonight I will know and be accounted for every person that will be on screen, which will be good.
Well, what I was like, dude, the one picture of you with the evil smile is like you have a Joker smile on your face that I've never ever seen your teeth and mouth make like that shape of a smile in my life. And it came out right there where you just wrote. It was one of the most amazing things. I zoomed in, was like, is that Frankie's mouth? Did they put like Heath's mouth on him from the Joker? Like, what is that? It was amazing.
Man. I don't know.
It did look like, if you look at a like a Batman comic, when you look at the Joker's teeth or anybody's teeth, where it's all white and you can't really even see the lines of the teeth, that's what you looked like. And you just, it looked crazy. But the professional photography, the people in front, that has changed Barstool streams forever. That, like,
Dennis De Silva, I texted him that. I said, you have now added a wrinkle into the Barstool universe. Like, we can no longer do really anything without still shots. Like, still shots go more viral than the videos.
No doubt.
It's preposterous.
Like, because they look like Renaissance paintings,
right?
Where it's very dramatic, and you can hear opera music when you're looking at these pictures. And that is just like, think about all the streams Barstool has done over the course of the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And if we had a professional photographer at all those, they would be even bigger than they already were. He really has added a completely new aspect to these things. It's incredible.
And it was his initiative to do it. He's like, hey man, like, I'm going to come watch the game. Do you mind if I bring my camera? I think it'd be really cool to get some snapshots of how insane it is. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I thought it was kind of weird at first, like taking photos of us. I was like, whatever. But then he was sending us fucking pictures as we were happening. I'm like, dude, you are doing something right now.
Yep.
Yeah, they're iconic. Well, good luck tonight, Frankie.
Thank you.
That's what's being lost in all this is like you have a huge game. Like, the stream's cool, the photos are amazing, whatever. Like, game 5 tonight is your livelihood as a fan, which is clearly what keeps you alive, is on the line tonight, basically.
Game 5, man, it's fucking crazy, and it's been a great series. Like, you look back, the Islanders could be up 3-1, or they could be down 4-0. They could have gotten swept, or they could have been like on the precipice of winning right now. So,
I was actually on a plane for the game on Friday. So I was like just seeing a little bit, and but I wasn't able to watch it in real time. When Pasta hit the post, was it 0-0? What was the score there? Because obviously I saw that highlight get played 1,000 times over again.
When he had the wide open net?
Yeah, it was, I think it was maybe, was it
1-0 Bruins?
Was it 1-0?
1-1
I think it may have been 1-0 Bruins to put it to 2-0. Honestly, it's point. Like watching the games. Watching the games in those bars, it's like you can't hear anything, and like it's just wait for the siren to go off and go crazy. Like, you're obviously watching intensely, and like you want to be able to know everything that happens, but I can't remember a thing, which kind of sucks.
I remember that from the Blues series, the Stanley Cup Finals, where it's like I actually remember very little about the actual happenings of the games.
Right.
except for like the final moments, just because it was such a blur and it's so emotional. It's almost like you're seeing stars the whole time when you think back to it, because like everything was so intense. But yeah, good luck tonight, Frankie. Big series.
Best
Big
part
game.
is whoever wins the series just like plays the Lightning next round. So we were saying that in the bar, like this is the Stanley Cup Finals for Barstool. This is like Barstool Cup Finals almost, and then you have to go win 2 more series somehow, some way against a team that's like rolling the best team in the league, Carolina Hurricanes, which is very funny and very Barstool. That we're taking this as seriously as you can, and you're not even halfway there yet.
There's going to be a lot of people who know who win this series that probably have no idea who won the Stanley Cup at the end of the whole.
Right.
You're in the semifinals of the conference right now.
Yeah,
it's like
I mean, personally for me, because I'm not a hockey guy, this is my Stanley Cup. Like whoever wins this, I'm like, oh wow, congrats to them on their success.
Yeah. Well,
The Bushnell Wingman, speaking of success, this is the world's first golf speaker featuring audible GPS distance and premium sound quality. The sound quality on this thing is just fucking fantastic. That's really the best way to describe it. You can jam on this thing for up to 10 hours, which is 36 holes of golf easily. The magnet on it is like something out of space that they would put on a space shuttle. I mean, this thing just slaps up against the little bar in your cart and it doesn't move. It doesn't move a millimeter. So they got that technology phenomenally done. You hit this little button on this like ball marker size little, button thing that goes in your pocket. You just hit that and it gives you front, back, center. At any point, it syncs up to the Bushnell app, so you just look and you've got the bird's eye view of exactly what the hole does. Where's the water? Where's the bunkers? Does it go dogleg left, right? How far do I have to that bunker? You can just click on it. So the Bushnell Wingman is as good as it gets. You go to bushnellgolf.com/Fore, order your Wingman Golf Speaker today. But yeah, this is an essential addition to the bag.
I think they call it the bite magnet, which I love. That's really a good representation of what it does to the golf cart. It just bites onto it and does not let go. Yeah, I know Frankie's mentioned it before, but if you want, and somebody DM me or tweeted or whatever the other day that they have now started to bring the Bushnell speaker into their bathroom while they shower, and it's just as good. It's better than a laptop. Like when I bring my laptop into, like when I'm showering to play some music, I can barely hear it, but with the Bushnell, that thing rocks, and it's awesome.
So fun fact, I brought my laptop into the bathroom when I was like in college and set it next to the sink to play music while I was showering. And I reached out at one point to change the song, as some dog shit song came on. Reached out and some drops of water got on the keyboard, ruined the keyboard. And then for the rest of the time in college, I had to get one of those detached keyboards. And when I would sit in class, I would have to have the keyboard on top of the actual keyboard trying to type. And it was people looked at me like, who is this poor person in class?
Right, in Harvard. It's like, don't you know somebody to get you? Like, this isn't Harvard.
You have highlighted a life problem that doesn't get talked about enough. Like, yeah, it's tough out there. Like, life is very hard. It's a difficult endeavor for everyone. But one of those things that's very hard is changing the song when you're in the shower, when you're soaking wet and it's a laptop, because you do run that risk every single time. You try and like shake it off, or if the towel's handy, you wipe it down a little bit and do it, but a couple droplets get on there and you look like Riggs in class.
Dude, it was like the R and the T button were like, they just didn't work on my computer. It was awful.
I love how you're sticking to just listening to music while you have your laptop in the bathroom, and it's not like you guys are changing like porn video to porn video.
I wouldn't do that in the shower. It's too much of a process.
Yeah.
I'm being honest with you when I say that's not what I was talking about.
Okay, good. Because honestly, laptop in the shower is something I really never heard of.
Listen, you sicko. Don't project onto us what you do in the bathroom, okay?
I would say,
no, I don't bring that.
I just make sure that laptop, Frankie, isn't connected to your Wingman at that given time, because then we're knowing exactly what Frankie's doing in the shower.
I don't bring my laptop in the shower. It's why I bring my Wingman.
Everybody should get one.
Get one, bushnellgolf.com/Fore. Order your Wingman Golf Speaker today. All right, we had an enormous weekend in the golf world. We'll start with Jon Rahm. This is the biggest story, I believe. And last night, the U.S. Women's Open finishing up, probably bigger in overall meaning. Obviously, we're going to break all that down because it was phenomenal. Olympic was amazing. I was there for several days. We played Olympic, so we can talk a lot about that, and we will. The Mike Finn guy who was on the bag. But the Jon Rahm story went, it was one of those that transcended the golf world. Jon Rahm comes off the 18th green on Saturday after finishing his third round. He's got a 6-shot lead at the Memorial. They tell him, like, before he even gets to the rough, basically, he's still on the fucking fringe, that he was immediately disqualified, has to withdraw from the tournament because he tested positive for COVID-19. He looked like him, he's about to cry, like he went down, like, oh my God, devastated, clearly. Immediately has to withdraw. The whole golf Twitter, the whole sports world went nuts because there was a lot to break down. COVID already is just a hot button issue. It's gotten super political, so people are weighing in on their COVID takes. Vaccinations, people were weighing in on their vaccination takes. Clearly Jon Rahm had chosen not to be vaccinated, in which case he's then subject to testing every day throughout the whole week, so people were weighing in on that. And then the PGA Tour, who is one of people's favorite piñata in the world of golf, is to just shit on the PGA Tour. So they were getting roasted for the way that they handled the whole thing. And then obviously people were painting an asterisk all over yesterday's result with Patrick Cantlay winning the whole thing. We'll start with Trent Daddy, because Trent, I feel like, is usually one of our more level-headed folks on the show. But just your reaction to the whole thing, Trent.
Well, it's a difficult thing to talk about on social media. And Riggs, I know you put out the clip. I put out the clip of them telling him as soon as he got off the green. And my mentions under that, dumpster fire. Just as soon as you put it out, and I tweeted after that being like, all right, we're in my mentions here, we're getting close to a solution. So keep an eye on my mentions, and we're going to have this thing figured out here in the next 10 minutes. So and the thing about this whole scenario is there's really not a right answer. When you think about them telling him right when he gets off the green, and you think, oh man, that's a crazy place to do that. He's still on camera. Clearly he has an emotional reaction to it. That's not a great place to do it. But then you think about, what if they let him walk through the crowd and he's shaking hands, he's high-fiving, he's fist bumping people, and then you find out afterwards that he's tested positive for COVID, and then people are piling on the PGA Tour being like, why would you not tell him immediately so then he's not trying to touch all these people? So it's a no-win for anybody. But it was just a tough and kind of a surreal scene to see a guy with a 6-shot lead, just played an incredible round, shot a 64, to walk off the green and then be told that he's going to be forced to withdraw from the tournament. And again, I don't have an opinion about this is what they should have done, and if you don't think this, then you're wrong, and fuck you. And I don't know what the solution is, because this is a scenario. If you had said this, if you had had this hypothetical and presented it to the PGA Tour, they'd be like, that's the craziest hypothetical we could think of. So I don't know what the protocol would be. And then it happened. And that's just, I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know what the wrong answer is. I just know that it's a shitty situation for Jon Rahm. It's a shitty situation for the PGA Tour. And I guess you just learn from it. I don't know what the right answer is.
I think Riggs setting you up as the most level-headed person on the show really was personified in that answer right there. I mean, that was the most level-headed answer of all time. You just said we're gonna learn from it. I'm like,
but you know what I mean?
No, I do. I do. I agree. I probably wouldn't have had that same take until I just heard you. I wanted to fucking rip into the PGA Tour, being like, how could you possibly think that that's the place to tell Jon Rahm where he is going, that he just is out of the tournament, he has COVID, like that is just the most you can't tell him in the scoring table. But I get it, he goes up there to high fives a million people. If the news will come out because he won't be playing the next day, they will go back, search the tapes, see who he touched. That's just a nightmare. So yeah, the whole situation kind of sucks. When did he take the test? Is that prior to the round? Obviously, how long did they know that he was COVID positive? Aren't those rapids kind of quick?
So yeah, and I think everything that's been said captures this probably better than, like Trent originally said, anything that has or could have been done on social media in 280 characters, especially on Twitter, which is everyone wants to attack and shit on one target. That might be the PGA Tour in this instance. It might be, if you're a big vaccination person, it might be whoever. People want to attack someone, right? Because it's a preposterous situation that you think someone should basically deserve all of the blame. And immediately I was making fun of the PGA Tour, and I still think there had to be some different way to do it than those theatrics, because it felt like that it was done more in a WWE Monday Night Raw way than it was how the PGA Tour handles someone with the virus that has shut down the entire world because of a global pandemic. So That was very tricky. When you do go back and look at everything, how it went down, Rahm, I believe Monday, alerted officials that he had come in close contact with someone who has COVID-19. So therefore, he was subject to different protocols immediately. He couldn't go into public areas, he couldn't go to the clubhouse, he couldn't go into player dining, and he had to take a COVID test every single day, basically before his round. Well, what got tricky was they didn't finish the second round until Saturday morning because of rain delays. So he actually, between his second and third round, which were both, that period was Saturday midday, he took another test. They got that result back a few hours later. That result was positive. Then they decided to reconfirm that test, which is their standard protocol, in case it was a false positive, so they didn't just yank somebody out of the tournament based on a bullshit test. They got that back at 6:05 p.m. Eastern, and I believe he was just about to finish up at that time. So when you actually go look at that, if all of those things are true, it becomes difficult to find how the PGA Tour could have really done it better and safer, because the original optics were okay, you let this fucking guy play a whole round on Saturday where you knew he was positive. How come he can't just play a whole round on Sunday where you know he's positive and win his $2 million or $1.7 million? But when you go through it that way, he clearly inherited the risk by choosing to not have the vaccine, which is fine. It's a personal choice. You choose not to have the vaccine. But you also therefore subject to tests. You're subject to, being more likely to get the virus based on all the science. And that's pretty much what happened. And the fact that the one person that tested positive in the field was the guy that had a 6-shot lead after Saturday, you can't make that shit up. But I am hard pressed to find where someone other than the coronavirus deserves all of the blame.
What do you think, Larch?
I just think it's a little bit tricky.
It's incredibly tricky.
It's just so hard. To say if there was blame, I would say that as soon as they found out, I think they should have just gone out to him and been hey, we got to stop it here. What's the point in letting them play those extra holes as soon as they found out that information? I think you just stop it in that moment, because where they stop them, there's, I'm a big believer in that there's a time and place for every comment. There you can work those two angles to have the proper time and the way you say something to somebody. And it's hard to find that moment in this, but because if it was after hole 6 when they got the report back, did they just go back out there and tell them after hole 6? I think that might be even better to do it then, because you tell them, hey, rules official, sorry you have COVID, we got to stop it here. You can't go on any further.
Yeah, I guess their logic there was they wanted to retest it, because like Rick said, if you pull somebody for a false positive, you're just surrounded by landmines in this. If you step one way, you're fucked. If you step the other way, oh, we pulled him, then we found out it's a false positive, but we still forced him to withdraw. Now we're fucked. And I understand it's just the events that had to happen for them to tell him right off the 18th green after extending his lead to 6 strokes, that's not great, and it made for the biggest social media explosion you could possibly have. But every other scenario has enough landmines on its own.
Yeah, and not to say that we have the answers in the room, but maybe at that point, if they were retesting, that adds some vagueness to it of when they actually had the results and when they could have stopped them. Sure. They could have in that moment on the 18th said, hey, we're still testing for COVID. We do have a belief that you tested positive. So will you just walk with us in this direction? And we're going to continue to test it so that he doesn't go into the crowd, whatever, go to the scoring table. Maybe they can accommodate him differently because of that. And then tell him officially, that night or whatever, just to right off the 18th green was that old bet that I kind of thought of where, hey, would you do 5 foot putts, and if you miss one, you just get killed right off the they essentially kind of executed him right after the hole,
from the
which
tournament.
I just thought was preposterous. I just thought that's the way that they did it. There had to be something else that they could have done or brought him into a private room. Not only is it the 1.7 or whatever that he would have won, but you went on the PGA. That's a world-class achievement. You know what I mean? There's just 0.0001% of people that ever get to do that. So, it was strange. And to Riggs's point, you kind of boil, like, most of it just goes to the coronavirus, and we're just living in this like post-pandemic, currently pandemic world.
Right, and also, like,
but I do think that there is some sort of gray area where they could have brought him to another location or said, hey, we're still continuing to test it, but we do have belief that you've tested positive. If that's the case, if that holds to be true, then we're going to have to, disqualify you or remove you from the tournament or whatever. Post 18th green, like right next to the greenside bunker, where whoever mentioned it, like he barely got to the rough, was like, it was absurd.
It was preposterous. Yeah, it was. It was a ridiculous clip. It was like, it made you think, too, him, like the way he handled it, too, like in that exact moment. He ended up, like, with his statement, he's being high road, he's classy, but in that moment, he was, because you were thinking as a viewer, like, that's devastating. And then he reacted like, that's devastating. Right. And you were like, oh my God. So the whole thing was like, holy fuck, when you saw that clip. It was a clip that you saw on your phone that you immediately had to show. You had to stop everyone at your dinner table and be like, have you guys seen this fucking clip? Like that, it was that kind of clip.
Well, and his reaction then warranted a reaction from Faldo and Nance. Like if they had told him, if they had said it to him and he was like, okay, like he was pretty stone-faced, like obviously devastated, but not doubled over in devastation, then I think maybe they say, oh, it looks like maybe something's going on, but then they cut to commercial. Instead, they stayed on the broadcast. Nance talked about it, and then they cut to Dottie Pepper, who was just like, holy fuck, like now I got to tell the world that Jon Rahm just tested positive for COVID and is being forced to withdraw from this tournament that he is winning by 6 strokes.
Dude, credit to Dottie Pepper, who announced it like he was dead, and it was her delivery. She just they cut to her, and she was so direct, and she just goes, can't confirm, Jon Rahm tested positive for COVID-19 and had to withdraw from the tournament. And then she cut off her mic and just stood there like, oh, this is the grieving period. It was the gravity of that announcement by her was all time.
Well, did she even announce that he withdrew? Or did she stated the facts of he's got COVID. And then I thought it was dead air on her side, because then I thought eventually Nance was it kind of drifted. Yes. And then Nance was like, and I think he now has to withdraw from the tournament. And then it was like
black. Like what? What? No, come back. We need to know more. No, that is what happened. Dottie Pepper confirmed the COVID,
news. And then she was just dead Mike standing there, and just it was okay, she's just by a grandstand here, right? Just she's just by a grandstand. There's nothing else to Dottie here, and then Faldo and kind of Nance didn't know what to do, and then Nance gave that now I think he has to withdraw, and then it was just dead air.
And it's not funny, obviously, but it is certainly absurd. And the whole thing was just we've never seen anything like this. And Dottie Pepper didn't know what to do, and Faldo didn't know what to do, Nance didn't know what to do, and they were like, all right, we're just going to stick to the facts here because we don't know really what's going on. It was quite a scene.
Yeah. It was bizarre, man. It was one of the more bizarre things I've ever seen. But
by the way, he 100% wins that tournament, obviously.
Dude, he had to shoot. All he had to do was shoot, I think, a 4 over 76 or better yesterday, and he would have won. As a guy that was 18 under through 3 rounds, he probably would have won by more than 6 shots. So he just got coronavirus just stole $1.7 million and all kinds of status and bonus and potential Hall of Fame talks because you lose a win in the win column, from Jon Rahm, which is a tough break for him. But congrats to Patrick Cantlay, I guess. I don't, I couldn't have given a fuck less about the tournament yesterday because the guy that won the tournament is just not playing the final round. That's not. Who cares? Honestly, from a viewer standpoint, who cares? That tournament is not real anymore.
Yeah, Cantlay afterwards even was like, yeah, it's weird. It's weird that I'm here because I think in an alternate universe where Jon Rahm he didn't say this, but it was where Jon Rahm doesn't have COVID, he clearly wins this golf tournament. But now I'm the benefactor and I get $1.6 million in my bank account because of it. That's a weird spot to be in. It's a nice spot, but it's also a strange one when you win a tournament that a guy was dominating. It's a strange spot to be in.
Patrick Cantlay should send him something nice.
I think that should be in the cards. Yeah,
buy him a car or something.
Yeah.
What's a fair gift for Patrick Cantlay to give to Jon Rahm? Half? I would say almost half.
You buy him a $500,000 car or something. You send it to him. You're like, congratulations, happy birthday. Sorry you got COVID.
our guy Todd Martin, who Peter Millar, he texted me and said that he should donate like $250,000 to Jon Rahm's like foundation.
Yeah,
I think
that's a good idea.
A move like that is, and Todd's obviously smarter than we are, so it makes sense that he came up with that.
Right.
But something along those lines, like he has to do something like that. And I feel bad a little bit for Patrick Cantlay because like he's not going to withdraw from the tournament. He's like, okay, I'm like this. You know, like a pandemic just took out the guy that's in front of me. Like, okay, what do you want? It's like a NASCAR driver's got like a gigantic lead, and then an asteroid comes out and just takes out his car. And now all of a sudden you win the race.
And he earned it. He went to a playoff with Colin Morikawa. Like it wasn't an easy W by any means, but it is strange. And yeah, I think the donation, and then maybe even a little bit more, just something else, because that was Jon Rahm's tournament, and he just couldn't play on Sunday.
There's not a ton you can do though. Like financially, like both these guys are so well off. Now it was some up and comer, no namer. Like then you'd think more financially gifted, but the status, it's a tricky one. I think Todd Martin. Shout out Peter Millar. I mean, that's just a better path. You just give it to their foundation, a lump sum.
We wanted Patrick Cantlay to buy Jon Rahm a Bentley. We're like, buy him
We're
a
the guys,
nice Bentley.
It's like if it was me, I want everything. I want like the 1.7. I want a Bentley, and you pay my insurance until the car's
We're
dead.
like, get him the worst investment you can possibly make, which is a car. Get him a car.
This is something we didn't talk about, but how about the guy being chosen to tell Jon Rahm the news? Like, what was that meeting like? I would love to have ears on that meeting being like, all right, so Jon Rahm has tested positive for COVID. He now is going to have to withdraw from the tournament. Somebody in this room, we're going to draw straws. Somebody is going to have to tell him, a guy with a known history of being a bit of a hothead, and by a bit I mean a lot, you got to go tell him right off the 18th green that he is now not going to earn $1.6 million. Obviously, Jon Rahm handled it in the best way that he could, and the Instagram afterwards, it was a good message. But like, that's a tricky moment for that guy, because Jon Rahm could just be like, "What the fuck, man?" It's a lot.
Yeah.
I think my final point on this, and I was trying to sneak it in before, if they've had a protocol this entire time for a guy that's been exposed to COVID, like he probably wasn't going to go touch fans, and like they should have had. Since they knew that this was a possibility, it really shouldn't have been as big of a surprise and as big of a theatrical performance on the end of 18. Like there should have been some protocol for him to just follow from Monday to Sunday so that if this had happened, it doesn't happen on the 18th green. That's where a little bit of blame for the PGA Tour happens. Like he should have been following rules given from them that even if he finishes with a positive COVID-19 result, he's going to continuously do the same thing that he's been doing since Monday, because each day he had the opportunity of being positive, right? Like he did the job. He told them, I have been exposed, and they're like, okay, here's protocol. But instead it was like this thing was sprung up upon him. It's like, well, no, we've been dealing with this for the past week. Yeah.
And I do think one of the failures is we're now in this different stage of like pandemic where like the old protocols were very like we didn't even have fans on the property. That's how stringent it was, and it was necessary. Now lots of people are getting vaccinated. People are showing up to sporting events. Like I almost think the protocols haven't really, and maybe they haven't had time to do it, haven't really grown with the situation where we're at now, where the old ones like, I don't know. I just think the protocols are maybe a little out of date. They need to update them to where we are now, and that could help the situation a lot.
Yeah. There's gonna be people that could have done it better because, you know, it blew up the way it blew up because it was such a dog shit situation, and that's obviously going to require that there were some mistakes to be made to get to that point. It sucks. Now Jon Rahm's in a position where he will, I believe, the Tuesday of U.S. Open week is when he gets out of quarantine. So like he has to self-isolate, and then I think like Tuesday afternoon is going to be 10 24-hour periods from when you first tested positive, and that's the requirement now. So I think it turns out to like Tuesday afternoon practice round, he's back. He's like out of quarantine at Torrey Pines. So that's another interesting little wrinkle. But yeah, whole thing was weird. I think we handled it, gentlemen. I think for us, we handled that about as well as we could have. That was pretty good.
Yeah. It's always good to just say I don't have the answer because I don't, because it's such a tricky situation that if you claim to have the answer, you're the most wrong.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
agree with that. I think we all agree that there was a better path, though. Somewhere in our brains or other brains, like 1 foot off the green, there might have been a better avenue there.
Yeah, don't know the answer, just wrong place. I know the answer is that was the wrong place. I do know that. So I'm not. If I can't remember all of our takes, but if someone had said that was the correct place to do it, or that we didn't know the answer about where to do it, that person's wrong. And I'm very confident in saying my side is that they should not have told him as he's walking off the 18th green on the green. You have to tell him at some point. But boy, oh boy, did I feel bad for that guy. We were at the bar for the Islander game, and like it started going crazy amongst the people. I mean, it was pregame. No one could believe it. They had it on the screen, like, what's going on? Whitney's like, did you see what just happened here? I was like, are you like, our jaws were on the floor. They're like, they told him on the green. Everyone's like, dude, I actually thought when I saw the video first of him going, I thought that someone died. I thought they told him that a family member had passed away.
Yeah. I think that was a lot of people's reaction if they didn't know the context. It probably crossed Nance and Follow's mind too. Like, this seems like a family situation, and it was bad.
Before we get to the U.S. Women's Open, we also got to talk about Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka. So Bryson, reports came out. I don't even know if they were necessarily reports. It was just somebody tweeted out that people were calling Bryson Brooksy, which everybody predicted when he, said at the PGA Championship that people had to stop calling him that. Obviously, everybody's going to call him that. Part of my take is going to egg it on and encourage people to call him that. I think we might have even been considered, you could argue, that we encourage people to call him that. Well, people were calling him that at the Memorial, and someone tweeted out that he and his caddy were pointing people out individually and having them escorted out of the Memorial Tournament at Muirfield Village. That's obviously going to make it better for him going forward. So he then was asked about it in the interviews afterwards, called it bullying. He called what Bryson is doing, or what Brooks is doing to Bryson, bullying. And then folks obviously quoted some of the things that Bryson has said about Brooks over the years, like saying that he has a six-pack but that Brooks doesn't, and, they just chirp back and forth. So for one to call the other a bully all of a sudden is not a good look. So Bryson's in it deep right now. We kind of knew that he just wouldn't be able to handle this game as well as anyone else, but especially Brooks Koepka, and boy, is he not handling it well at all.
Well, and then Brooks put out the video after with the giveaway being like, hey guys, it's Brooksy. And like that video was weird. That I thought actually was kind of lame.
Totally.
Yeah, like that was. I understand what's going on. Everybody does, except Bryson. It would seem like what's going on in this situation, and it will get to a point. And I will not go as far as to say bullying, because that's a word that I don't think I want to use in this scenario. But like where Bryson clearly just doesn't want anything to do with this anymore. He's just like, listen, man, like I understand that you don't like me. And yeah, they've had their back and forth about the abs and the majors and the wins. But like at a certain point, Bryson doesn't want to be involved in this anymore. And the more Brooks pushes it on him and pushes it on his fans to call Bryson Brooksy, it's going to get to a point where people are like, all right, man, like you got to lay off Bryson a little bit. I don't know if we're at that point yet, but it's going to get to that point if Bryson continues to say, like, I'm going to keep taking the high road. That's something that, the tour has to handle. I'm not going to handle it. Like at a certain point, you're not dealing with a worthy foe anymore. You're just telling your fans to call a guy Brooksy when his name is Bryson.
Yeah, I don't think there's any big winners in this though either. Like I'm just like, to Brooks and Bryson, I don't know, less enthused with both of them, honestly.
The most I was in on it was when Bryson was giving it back on Twitter, being like, "Oh, it's rent free" and all that. Because then it's two guys going back and forth, and it's like that's a battle. That's something I want to watch. When it starts to go where the one guy's just so sick of it that he's having people thrown out of golf tournaments, and the other guy is continuing to push the narrative to call him a name that makes him mad and upset, then you get to a point where it's like, well, what the fuck are we doing?
Right.
Well,
I mean, Bryson's got to handle it better and not like
totally.
Once you overreact, it's a mess. And Brooksy's also the perfect name because Bryson's like this massive hulk of a human being now, and now you're calling him the name of someone that he hates, but without that like cute little end to it, like little Trenty or whatever, Brooksy, like that name, like I don't know, that
Frankie,
doesn't obviously work, but yeah. But Frankie, you got to add a little bit more onto that. But yeah, I mean, it's just digging at him, eating on him. And then as soon as you ask people to be removed from a tournament, it's like, well, that name now just went from X to 10X.
Right.
And people are just you're going to chirp that on every tee box.
The reason why Bryson wants this to be over and doesn't want to engage in it is because he's getting dominated in it. I mean, how is that a fair thing to say about like Brooks because Brooks has just beaten him in this rivalry, like he has to stop. Like Bryson was every much a part of this rivalry up until now. He just doesn't want to be a part of that. That's just not the way the world works. Like Brooks is allowed to just continuously beating up on the guy because 2 weeks ago it was like a heated rivalry. Now Bryson's like, you know what? I'm out on this. Like imagine we were able to do that in fights and debates. You know what? I actually don't want to do this anymore. It's like, of course, because people are making fun of you.
That is fair, but it is a strategy that will eventually work for Bryson, because if he continues to go radio silent and just says, I don't know why this guy hates me, I'm just going to play golf and he's having his fans do this to me, it will flip. The narrative will flip on Brooks at some point. Whether or not you agree with that or if you think that is worth, if it should do that, it will flip. And it's a strategy that will work for Bryson eventually.
It will work to the point where Brooks will stop, but in the meantime, it will destroy Bryson DeChambeau's like life and his person and everyone's perception of him. Like he'll continuously say like, "Oh, like I'm going to take the high road. Like I don't want to talk about that." It's like, yes, you actually do really want to talk about that. You're just getting pummeled to the ground to the point where you're asking people to stop, and that makes you softer and softer each time. Like if he just was 10% of a normal human being, he'd be able to respond with something funny, witty, get back at him, but he can't. He doesn't have that in him. Bryson DeChambeau does not have that in him. It's unfortunate because Brooks
but it makes me feel bad for him a little bit that he doesn't, right?
This is what I'm saying. This is where that's where it's going to flip.
It's not equal, because it is a little bit like the jock is like beating up on that's why I use the term bullying, but like he's beating up on like the dork that's into the science, and yes, Bryson brought it on himself. He egged it on to a degree himself, of course, and so I think what Lurch said is kind of where I stand. We're like they both kind of come off a little bit lame throughout this whole thing to me. It's a little bit of a cowardice thing to be like, yeah, I'm losing, so now I don't want to be a part of this, when like you just chirped the guy a week ago on Twitter and said like I'm living rent free in your head. So to try to bail out of it is cowardice. But the whole thing, I do think it's moved past where I loved it, and you could probably a week ago on the show I was like, we've never seen like this in the sport, to I'm already kind of over it.
Right. And it goes to my point where if Bryson was engaged, and if he did have that 10% that you're talking about, Frankie, this would be awesome, and it would continue until it would reach a boiling point, and I don't know when it would come to a head, but everyone would be looking forward to it. But I agree with Riggs, where it's like now, if Bryson doesn't want to be involved, I don't want to just watch a guy beat up on a guy like over and over again and have his fans beat up on him in every tournament where Bryson's just like, yeah, I don't want to be involved in this. Like, remove me from this narrative, as Taylor Swift once said. It's like, but that's kind of where we're at right now. Bryson does not want to be involved anymore, and a big part of it is that he's getting beaten so badly in it.
Yeah, just
like
call
rewarding your fans by heckling a guy at a golf tournament with like free beer is like, it's a little bit like, it's lame. That's pretty lame, I thought.
Yeah, the thing that always drives me fucking crazy about Brooks is that he like forgets he is a Bryson. He's a golfer. He's a professional golfer, dude. You're not one of your pals. I'm part of my take. Like that goes up. You're not a football player. You're not a fucking cool athlete guy that you've always wanted to be. You're not in the MLB wearing the fucking long pants and chewing on the fucking tobacco and spit. You don't have that fucking look, man. You're a golfer. You're a golf nerd. You have to partake in the argument. Is it a hobby or is it a sport? Like that's who you are, dude. You make a shit ton of money playing golf. You probably got bullied in fucking high school because of it. That's just who you are. And you're this like good looking guy and you got the whole lifestyle and you're like, whatever, brah, it's all Gucci, my man. It's like, dude, you're out there fucking grinding just like Bryson is. So stop acting like you're the only person in the world that's ever been cool to play golf. That's the part that drives me crazy about him. He thinks he's the first. He thinks he's cracked the code. Like, yo, Gucci, bro, we're going to play some fucking G today. Like, what? What,
Hold on,
dude?
so
You just hit the fucking driving range for 6 hours. You make fucking hundreds of millions of dollars playing the sport. You don't like it? You don't You don't want to practice it. You're mad that this guy's taking too much time playing the game that you guys are getting paid millions for. You don't enjoy that. You're not just as invested as he is. It drives me fucking crazy. Just like one day act like you care, Bryson, Brooks. It's crazy.
So like, all right. So that, yes, your point of like him being the too cool guy. Yes. But on the comment of like him and Bryson, what do you feel about that? Do you think it should continue? Like, I think a couple points in this room, it's like almost like call the fight. Like Bryson, I think, put his comment out there like living rent free and didn't realize that there was going to be punchbacks. And once there was punchbacks, he had nothing else.
Yeah.
It was like,
well, I think he thought there were probably going to be punchbacks,
like,
but he also realized that he was like, oh wait, no, I don't want to do this. like I think if he could take the rent free back, he would.
Totally. Because then the last video where Brooks is sitting there calling me Brooksy the Michelob Ultras, that's where like, okay, like in a UFC battle, you like, all right, like he can't defend himself. Like we got to call this one. Where if Brooks comes back with another video, I'm just like, this is so stupid now. Like another Brooksy type video. You won this, play it out, whatever. Yep. It's going to continue on. But I don't think that he has to keep like just, punching the guy in the temple when he really can't do anything to defend himself. And then just like let it die and let like if something else boils up, I think that's fine. But it's like he's the clear winner in this thing. I don't think if he does something else, I'm like, you both kind of lost a lot of value in my brain.
And I would, if you're Brooks and you're seeing what Bryson is doing now, if I'm Brooks, I also call the fight, because what I'm saying about the narrative flipping on him eventually, he can stop that now. If he decides today to never mention Bryson again until something else happens, he's the clear winner and everybody just goes away and being like, man, remember when they kind of had a dust up and Brooks just completely bodied him on Twitter, on the golf course, like everywhere. But if he continues to try to motivate people to get under Bryson's skin, I think that's where people are going to be like, all right, now it's too much.
Yeah, the video coming from Michelob Ultra, like we're on the other side. I feel like a lot of listeners don't realize like how fucking lame that like sponsored ad is. Like that someone at like on his team was like, hey, like Michelob like came to us with this really cool idea, bro. Like this would be fucking sick if you like gave away some, like that's such a bunch of guys sitting around a fucking conference table seeing how they can engage on Twitter,
right,
and like get their natural like organic conversation going with like hashtag Michelob Ultra. And like, dude, that's really cringeworthy. Like that's something at Barstool that like a Dave Portnoy would like to be like, are you kidding? Like I'm just gonna bury this guy into the ground and I'm not gonna throw a spot.
I don't need to attach an ad deal to it.
No, like like we're gonna turn this like natural like fight into like something that's so sponsored. Like I'm surprised he didn't put hashtag ad at the end of that. Like I think that's actually like illegal. I think you like have to do that. It's fucking
Frankie,
insane.
I think you're having a tough time with this one because you don't like Brooks, like in his like mindset of like I'm too cool for school.
I do hate him,
but then
I don't like him either. I don't like that either. Like I'm very much with Frankie on that.
Right? No, I know, but Frankie like doesn't like that side. But I do think that Frankie likes to stay on a point and drive it home. So like
he's a born arguer.
Having like a mental battle. Exactly.
Well, no, I think like. Yeah,
because he would hate. Because like he would hate. He would certainly hate if you did it, Lord. Certainly if I did it too. Like if we were getting beaten in arguments so bad, I was just like, well, I don't want to talk about it anymore. So he'd be like,
right. That part about Bryson, I'm like, you're not allowed to do that. There's a rule somewhere. Someone wrote a rule that you're not allowed to like literally start the fight. Bryson, I'm pretty sure, threw the first punches. Did he not? Like when he was on his fucking Twitch stream like 2 years ago or a year ago?
No, we'd have to. Didn't it start slow play?
It was slow play and that, like, but at this point, it's like they basically both threw punches at the same time.
But
it's like it's not that different.
It's been years. You have to stay in it. You can't just wipe it away clean. But then again, like the guy you're trying to wipe it away clean from is insufferable. Like Brooks is insufferable.
Yeah, and look, like Brooks Koepka just benefits from the fact that, pardon my take, had him on and said he's really cool. Like, he just benefits from that. And if you really look at a lot of the stuff, like, people should make up their own minds about, like, is he really that cool? Because he's actually alienated a lot of people. Like, he had the comments about DJ last year going into the final round of the PGA, to where, like, even Rory McIlroy responded to that and said, like, it's pretty hard to knock a guy that's got 21 wins, which is 3 times what Brooks has. So it's like he's clearly rubbed a lot of people the wrong way with that stuff. And he does it's a little bit of, like, it kind of is a little bit of the bullying, because Brooks comes with the army that's like the PMT crew that has been like, we're going to call him Brooksy and we're going to chirp, and that's made it a little bit of an unfair fight, where like Brooks Koepka now has this army of people that just like whatever side he's on, they're going to back it, and it's going to be cool because he's one of the guys, and he's specifically like one of the PMT guys. And like even we struggle with that because like PMT, it's Barstool, he's one of their guys. But like when we're this tied in and we love golf and we're obsessed with the logos from the courses and what people are trying to do to get better, and like the language and is that a concession, is that a gimme or not? Like an average sports fan might be, are these fucking idiots really talking about whether a 3-footer should be given or not? And it's like, yeah, we'll do a whole show on that because we fucking love golf. And then one of the guys is like, yeah, golf's not even that cool. Like Frankie said, like, brah, it's Gucci, like whatever. You're like, well, fuck you, dude. Like, this is our sport. This is what we like to do. You're not above golf. Like, I see you out there with all your training aids trying to learn how to get your putting stroke a little bit better for 5 hours straight. We know that you went and played the European Tour and played all over the world so that you could eventually make it in golf because you love golf. So why do you act like you're too cool for golf? So all of that is at play. And when you then basically allow all of it to get, brought to the surface by the PMT popularity from Brooks, it kind of is annoying to people like us that are in the trenches with golf all day long to just have somebody be considered super cool, even though in the golf world, like, is he really that cool? Like, are you that cool because you just think you're better than everybody?
Frankie, what's the analogy you always make? It's the most perfect analogy in regarding Brooks and golf that's ever been made because it's 100% accurate.
He's Zac Efron in High School Musical. He is a kid that has a shit ton of talent, that was playing on the basketball team, and all his friends are like, yo, we're gonna go drink some fucking Nooners, and they're like, we're gonna go home and drink Nooners because it's Saturday, and he's like, yeah, but I actually got to go see something at home real quick. And then he sneaks home and he's like with his fucking little crew singing a cappella for the play next week. And he's like, don't tell anyone. Like, this is my passion. But like, and then they see him in the hallway and he pushes Bryson into the fucking locker. It's like, nerd. Meanwhile, he's fucking playing golf with them on Saturday. Listen, like, yeah, I've listened to a bunch of interviews of Brooks. Like, I've listened to him on Part of My Take, and he obviously like likes golf, but
definitely
it's this stigma that he's given himself. Like, like he doesn't even want to talk about it. He's like, yeah, it's just, I don't like to practice. He said that to us when we interviewed him. I don't practice. I never play golf. Golf should be 14 holes. Like, who are you appealing to? The person that doesn't like to play golf? I don't understand like who his like target audience was when he set out to have that like brand where it's like, I don't really love this sport. Like,
might be non-golfers. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole,
and he's gotten them.
Non-golf, right?
Yeah, he has.
Like, the Part of My Take crew fucking loves him because he is like a football guy. They call like he's the football guy's golfer or whatever. That, you know what I mean? He's not a golf. He's like not a golf guy. Like, it's just that's his little thing that he's built up for himself. But I can't say I at the end of the day, it's something that we've always talked about that we want. Like, we want fucking drama in the PGA Tour. It's kind of cool that it's still going on. We've got these crazy characters, and this is a Tiger Woods, like, not Tiger, like, just hasn't been a part of these storylines, and it's still been just crazy to watch, which I never thought was going to be able to happen. I honestly thought I'd never be able to watch golf again without Tiger Woods in the mix. I mean, I'm not saying he's never going to come back, but like the fact that golf is this fucking hot right now with this many storylines, good for the game. Fucking good for the game.
You're right. You're right about that.
Yes, completely agree. Credit Karma money, my friends, okay? That's also good for the game. It's good for your game in terms of life and your financials. And being illiterate in that stuff is something that I believe dates back to, 4+ years ago when Trent and I started doing this show, which is that we know nothing about finances.
God, if you listen to when Frankie went away and when Lurch went away and it was me and Riggs, we just started talking about financials and kind of where our history and where our future is going to lay. That's two guys who just don't know anything about financial anything. 100%.
Boy, were we just trying to hit some buzzwords that we had like seen or heard along the years and over the years, and we don't know anything. And luckily, a company like Credit Karma exists. Credit Karma has always been there to help you make better financial decisions. Now they want to help you even more with a Credit Karma money spend account. You can be rewarded for good money habits. You can open FDIC insured spend account for free. There's no minimum balance requirements. no overdraft fees, and free withdrawals from a network of over 50,000 ATMs. Only from June 8th to June 30th. When you make a purchase between June 8th and June 30th, you'll be automatically entered to win $1 million, by the way.
That's a lot of money.
A ton of money.
Which would be awesome.
I'd take $1 million, no doubt. No doubt
Awesome
about it.
powers. Awesome powers every time you hear $1 million.
But
when you use your Credit Karma Money debit card, you can win daily Instant Karma purchase reimbursements on items up to $5,000. Just pay with your debit card, and if you win, you'll be notified on the spot, and your Instant Karma cash will be added into your account. Right now, you visit creditkarma.com/winmoney to open your free account and start winning Instant Karma. Go to creditkarma.com/winmoney to sign up for free and start winning Instant Karma. That's creditkarma.com/winmoney. Instant Karma is sponsored by Credit Karma. No purchase necessary. Exclusions and terms apply. See rules. Banking services provided by MVB Bank Incorporated, member FDIC. Maximum balance and transfer limits apply.
Trent, do you have an apartment?
I do have an apartment, yeah.
You got one? The new one? The thing that you've been stressing about?
Oh, yeah, no, I did. I signed a new lease, yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
Congrats, Trent.
Very
Thank you
good.
very much. Yeah,
Trent, talk to the people about how fucking stressful that was.
Well,
this is funny because we have so much travel coming up. You were just going to be homeless.
Well, yeah. So I for anybody who follows Barstool, I've been living with
Riggs did that pretty much.
I've been living with
last year. I was literally homeless for about 4 months last year. I didn't have a home address.
No, I was saying when we get back from all this travel that we're doing, I might just get back to New York City and I'm going to be a homeless person for the foreseeable future. But luckily I signed a lease. Robbie Fox and I, again, if you follow Barstool at all, Robbie Fox, our MMA guy, he's great. We've been living together for almost 4 years now, and we are going our separate ways. And I had to find a new apartment, and I just hadn't. I wasn't hearing back from the people that I needed to hear back from in the manner that I thought was appropriate. Because, like I said, because we're going out to Torrey for the U.S. Open, when I get on that plane, when I get back, I either have an apartment or I don't. And if I get back and I haven't signed anything, I'm going to be sleeping on couches. I know producer Jake Bass was nice enough to offer me like somewhere to lay down at night if I need heat or if I need air conditioning. But I moved the process along. I badgered the people a little bit, and I have now signed a lease. So July 1st, I will be in my own place. I'll be living by myself, and I'm very excited about it. It's an exciting time.
That was a very funny visual of you sleeping on our producer's couch as your full-time resident.
You never would have done that.
I would have done that.
Really?
I'm generally a pretty stress-free guy. I like to keep things light. I like to keep things loose. But when it comes to where am I going to sleep at night, where am I going to live, I get very stressed out about that. So that has been taken care of, and I'm excited about my new place.
I was with Trent, and he was like legitimately texting a billion. Just every time I looked over at his phone, it was just you could see it was a new text message being sent, and it was just a number at the top, like no name. And it was each time it was like, I need information on a place to live.
I didn't think that they were understanding the how it needed to be done in a timely manner, because I was like, I'm going to be gone the last half of this month, and I need a place. And they were just like, this is just some idiot, which I am. Just get it, maybe give them a place, maybe don't. But I was like, I need it now.
Dude, there was, we get a lot of products sent to us, obviously, as people know, like our different sponsors, shoes, clothes, all kinds of stuff sent to us. So our team, very frequently is like, hey, we have this coming in or new merch that you should try out that we might put on the website coming in. Where should we send it? And I'd be like, I actually don't have a home address. So, and then they'd be like, no, I know, but seriously, where should we send it? I'd be like, no, I don't live anywhere. You don't get it. I have a storage unit in New Jersey, but I don't have an apartment. There's nowhere that I live. And that was for 4 months because we were on the road so much with the Classic and with our travel that we do. And with Corona going on, I just didn't have an apartment. And so finally in November, that's why people, asked, maybe the number one asked question at the Classic is like, so why'd you move to Scottsdale? What's the deal? It's like, well, I didn't live anywhere else. So it's I had to live somewhere. And I was like, I'll just do Scottsdale for a little bit. But yeah, I'm glad. You do not want to be doing that either, Trent, because it kind of sucks. Living without, not having an apartment or anywhere to call home sucks.
And I was dreading moving so much. Everybody hates moving. That's just the number one worst thing you have to do when you're in New York or anywhere really. And I didn't want to move so much that I'm just moving into a unit in the same building. I'm just taking my things, throwing it into the elevator, going to a different floor, and putting it into the new apartment. I'm not my address will be a little different because the unit is different, but my address is going to be pretty much it will be the same. So which I'm looking forward to. I'm very excited about that. I didn't want to have to run a truck and throw all my shit in the back of a U-Haul and drive around Manhattan in a U-Haul. So I was just like, I'm going to move into the same building, just a different unit, and that's what I did.
This guy wears the same clothes every single day, and and when he moves apartments, he stays in the same building. It's just the consistency is unmatched.
Unmatched.
I wouldn't go as far as to say that I'm afraid of change, but I don't like it.
No, I think there's something to you that you try and avoid change at all costs.
Yeah. But then again, I also am a guy from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, who now lives in New York City. Like I'll change certain things about my life that I want to achieve and I want to do. But in terms of like normal everyday things, I want to drink the same coffee in the morning. I want to wear the same clothes. I want to wake up in the same apartment. Like for those things, I like consistency. Everything else, our job is the least consistent job in a long list of jobs. But there are certain parts of my life that I like to keep consistent, and it's sort of where it's sort of where I connect and I can ground myself a little bit.
I like it.
It's tremendous. Really.
I don't know.
Is it trust? Is it like not consistency, but you just want to trust what you are going to do everything? Like coffee every day, same clothes. Like you trust the way you're going to look. You trust the taste.
Did you say you wanted to eliminate the choice, like the stress in the morning?
I did that with the clothing thing, yes. Where I was just like, why am I so worried about who? And I wasn't overly worried about it, but it's one less thing I have to deal with. I wake up, I put on the khakis, I put on the, well, today I'm wearing something a little different, but I put on the black crew neck or the Carhartt shirt that people are noticing that I just wear that same looking Carhartt shirt all the time. I bought a ton of them, but I just like that. It's not even about trust. It's just certain parts of my life I like to have predictability, and the rest of it, whatever we do on this show, wherever this show takes us, wherever Barstool takes me, I'm down for all of that. But there are certain parts of my life that I like to keep in check.
You know what's so funny, and this is like, it's so funny. I think that you legitimately did. So like you were saying, you didn't like want to make a decision each morning about like, oh, like what's going to look good, or like basically like, will people like care about my outfit, right? Like you wanted to eliminate that part, but by doing what you did, people took notice to your outfit 1,000 times more than they would have if you just chose a different outfit each day, right? Like your outfit became more like, oh wow, Trent's wearing the same thing for the past month every day. That is actually more noticeable than if you like that stress in the morning, like, oh, what should I wear today? You know what I mean?
Yes, I know exactly what you mean, but it's a different part of it. And I don't necessarily care like how good I look or like what people say about what I wear. It's more personally for me eliminating that choice. Like I don't want to wake up and be like, oh, what am I going to wear? It's just like I'll put on this every single day. I understand what you're saying. It draws far more attention to it, and it has, to the point where I wore it on a network TV show, and I pulled luggage out of a room, and I made a specific request to the producers saying I have to wear this outfit because it will make people laugh, and I did that, and it worked. It very much worked. But it's like it's probably 90% true that I don't care about the way that I look or what I wear and what people think about it. I just like to wake up and put on what I know I'm going to wear because it's consistent.
God,
it's tremendous. I apologize. I gotta say goodbye. I have to run, but it's been a nice morning chat with you all, and I will talk to you later.
All right,
bye, Lurch. Good luck out there slinging those drones, buddy.
Thanks,
virtual stuff. Sell the show.
I don't know how we got onto the inner workings of my life, but that's fine.
The irony of this whole thing is that you're not wearing your outfit right now. That's the irony is you're not even wearing your go-to outfit.
Well, and I don't want to say too much about it, but now a new part of my life is that I'm trying to be, well, this always was a part, but now we've really hyper-focused on it, is being a better golfer. So I was practicing the game of golf this morning, and that's why I'm wearing, a Barstool Golf quarter zip. This thing's actually great. Shout out to Peter Millar. So yeah, that's why I'm wearing something different. But you better believe in my backpack in the other room, I brought the my khakis and my black Carhartt shirt. So I'll be changing into that once we're done with this podcast.
Gotcha. So you had to wear one outfit and then go through the hassle of packing a different outfit so you could dress the same every day.
Yeah.
So There's got to be some answer to that. Like, I don't know if a therapist has to message us, because I mean, I think if anyone needs a therapist, it's me. So maybe you can send me a diagnosis of what you've heard on this show about myself, how I'm a psychopath, my heart's gonna explode in my brain, I can't go to sleep at night. But for Trent, there's got to be some sort of character trait that he has to wear the same outfit every single day. I'm telling you, there's something about that brain. There's something there, man. There has to be. Maybe it's like a common thing. Like, what if we could diagnose you with something that is like you have to wear the same outfit every day, and that is consistent with this?
I'll tell you this. My grandpa wore the same thing every day.
Holy shit, dude!
So
boys,
I like that. That's
boys,
where at least
we are getting somewhere here, Trent. How do you not mention that? That's unbelievable.
Well, yeah, and
Is it
I don't know.
genetic? Is the choice
Crazy
of
to
clothes,
withhold that information.
Is the choice
Crazy
of
to withhold
clothes
that.
genetic?
Well, or is it genetic, or is it it's a learned thing where I saw him where he was like, yeah, I wear the same thing every day, and I was like, oh, that seems like a manageable and acceptable option for me. Whether it's genetic or it's something that I witnessed and I decided to put it into my own life, that's for science and a therapist to decide.
Okay, that I'm glad we got that out, because I do think that adds a nice little wrinkle into it. No pun intended. Sure,
Yeah,
it's wrinkles.
he wore like a white polo shirt and and shorts every single day.
Don't like Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs wear the exact same outfit every day?
Yeah, I've made that argument. People have tweeted those at me when those articles come out. They say, oh, these super mega genius rich guys also do what I do. But it's also, our situations are clearly much different.
Maybe it's a stroke of genius. Was your grandfather, what did he do?
He was an engineer. Yeah, he was a smart guy.
What?
He was really smart.
Trent, this
Might be onto something
Like-
here, Trent. Have you been hiding a genius inside of you this whole time?
No.
You
Absolutely
have
not.
genius inside of you. You've suppressed him with Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah.
You've like beaten him down to a pulp with sugar and fucking soda, and you're just like, don't come out. You could change the world, Trent. I'm telling you, man. You could probably change. You probably are changing the world. You're making people happier, but you could probably do something really special.
I ate 2 pints of ice cream the other night, back to back.
Oh,
That's just something that happened.
What kind of ice cream?
I don't know. I barely even got to look at it before it went in. That was Ben and Jerry's something. I think it was the cookie dough flavor.
Walk
I
up
like
to the
cookie-
counter. Yeah, can I get 2 pints of what? Just don't fucking just that. Just
just-
fucking
I don't know.
Anything.
Is
It's
it
just
made out
gonna
of
fly
milk?
by me anyway. So
Is
just
there
give
milk
to
in
me.
it?
Yeah. Is there milk and sugar? They freeze that shit. All right, yeah, give it to me.
Woo! Trent walks
All
up to
right.
the frozen aisle like it's the red light district in New Amsterdam. He like peers his eyes through the windows, and he fucking starts licking his lips. Starts looking in his wallet to see how much money he's got.
The guy who runs the bodega across from my apartment, he knows secrets about me that even my closest friends and family don't even know. He sees me do things that no one else sees.
Dried mangoes, bro.
That's where I buy them. I buy them from that
Dude.
spot. Yeah.
Trent has these dried mangoes. You wouldn't believe the taste on these things. They have to be the least. So he said he was trying to eat healthier one day on the golf course. He goes, I'm trying to snack a little bit healthier. He brings out this plastic box of dried mango. It's just basically sugar compacted into something that looks like a mango strip. It's the tastiest, but also a most unhealthy thing I've ever eaten in my life. And I was like, where'd you get this? He goes, the bodega across the street. Like, that bodega across the street does know some darknesses about you.
Oh yeah, he'll see me wander in there at hours that he's like, you guys wouldn't even believe. Yeah, those dried mangoes. Frankie loves them. I think I started his own addiction on.
Oh,
dried
they're
mango.
unbelievable.
We should get him on the podcast. That would be something interesting.
Bodega guy.
I'll quit. I'll disappear. You guys won't ever hear from me again.
The U.S. Women's Open at Olympic Club, raging success. This was one of the best tournaments to watch all year long. Olympic is as iconic as it gets. I think this was the 11th USGA championship that they've hosted there. Several U.S. Opens. They've got a Ryder Cup coming there. And now they hosted for the first time the U.S. Women's Open. It is as San Francisco as it gets. You can literally see the Golden Gate Bridge from the first tee. It's on the side, of a massive hill mountain. It's got enormous cypress trees that just swallow up golf balls, and it's hard. It's extremely difficult. They have the rough grown out, and ultimately ultimately it tested the best players in the world. There were phenomenal storylines from amateurs, 17-year-old amateur making a run to, ultimately a victory from the first Filipino to ever win a major championship in golf history, who's only 19 years old, Lexi Thompson, who's had, I think over maybe 8 top 3s in major championships, but has only won 1 and has suffered a bunch of heartbreak, who had a 5-shot lead on the back 9 and ultimately couldn't get it done. We could start, with the champion and kind of go through it. But Yuka Saso, which is, by the way, one of the coolest names I think I've ever heard in golf history, Yuka Saso.
Whoa.
Wins on the third playoff hole at Olympic with a birdie. Really just got it done. I mean, to go into a playoff at the U.S. Open, which was the first time I'd seen the 2-hole aggregate score, which is kind of the USGA. They got rid of the 18-hole playoff thing. But to go in and go par birdie in a U.S. Open in a playoff, after coming back from back-to-back double bogeys on the second and third hole earlier in the round, birdied 16 and 17 to ultimately get into a playoff. And was just clutch as hell down the stretch, made that birdie putt on the 9th hole, which was the third playoff hole, to win it. Started talking about what it meant afterwards, and she started, tearing up, saying that her family and her sponsors and her whole country supporting her was amazing. So that was just badass. And ties to the day.
This was stunning.
To the day. The youngest winner of the U.S. Women's Open in history. To the day.
Jeez.
That's just stunning.
That was Justin Ray again, right?
I think so.
That guy is he's dealing with some magic. Every time there's a golf tournament going on, he'll have a stat. I got a bubble in my throat right now. You can hear it.
Yep. Gotta clear that out, please.
Get out, Trent. Get out the bubble, Trent.
He just always brings it. Like, everybody does stats, and it's always like a kind of an interesting stat, but you scroll right by it, you're like, that was okay. Justin Ray, he's a showstopper when it comes to those. And when he had that one ready, the tie with the 7, I think it was 19 years, 11 months, 7 days, something like that, to the point where I saw people asking him in the comments being like, we need to know what time they were born. Like, we need to know down to the hour, down to the minute, down to the second, how close it was. And I bet he has it at some point. He might even have already tweeted it out. He's got it when it comes to cool statistics.
What do you think he's got over there that no one else, like, what access does he have? Does he have books?
I don't know.
Imagine he's just good with, like, Excel and spreadsheets and stats. Like, those stats classes that I had to basically, like, cheat on to get through in college and high school. With the what was it, like the coefficient of like R and all that, like, get the fuck out of here. I can't do any of that stuff. I think he could just do all of that stuff really well.
Right.
The rough at Olympic, and we played it, not in those conditions, obviously, but that rough, that was some of the most, it was just ugly. And those girls, Lexi Thompson had a great shot out of the rough yesterday. I had a couple great shots out of the rough that I just wouldn't even be able to get a club on. It was just so impressive watching that at the end of the day yesterday.
Yeah, they were able to judge and hit some pretty sick shots, but she was so money, under pressure, not really having ever been there before, to win the biggest championship in the game in women's golf was awesome. It was so badass to see. Clearly a rising star. Lexi Thompson was probably the biggest storyline in that she's one of the more recognizable names. She's been around for a long time. She's been in the middle of some controversy before. She, in 2017, was, of course, the one who marked her ball incorrectly on the green on Saturday, and then in the middle of her final round on Sunday was informed by the USGA that she got a 4-stroke penalty that put her from winning by like 3 to down by a stroke. And then ultimately lost that A&A Inspiration, so that would have been another major championship. So she's been right there, and then like I said, I think the number is 8 top 3 finishes she's had in major championships. So, and she's got, I think, 11 wins on the LPGA Tour. So to have that many wins, have been that close in majors, and only got the one A&A Inspiration, which has been it's been like years and years and years since she won. She had a 5-shot lead on the back 9 and ultimately posted a 41, including a couple birdies coming down a couple bogeys coming down the stretch on 17 and 18, which 17 is a very birdieable, reachable par 5, and 18 was only 315 yards or so, even though it was playing pretty damn difficult with that front pin. It's just a collapse. There's just no other way to describe it.
Her par putt on 18 hurt my soul. Didn't give it enough. Didn't give it nearly enough. And you could see it as soon as she struck it. I was like, I don't think that was nearly the right speed for that putt, and it just wasn't. And she knew it, and it's one of those moments where, like, if that ball rolls maybe just 2 inches closer, it's not, people are like, oh, she just didn't have the right speed. But when you hit it that short, people are like, oh, the moment got to her. The moment overwhelmed her, and she just didn't hit a good putt at all. So, like, it's a collapse. I know people don't want to use that word. It's a strong word, but when you add up the numbers, you look at the bogeys on the back, how big of a lead she had going into that back nine. Unfortunately, that's a collapse.
41's
it's a meltdown. It's a collapse. It's a disaster.
Yeah.
It's everything. I mean, it's the moment got to where she couldn't handle whatever. It's all of those things.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what happened. She was 1 under, I believe, on the front nine and had a 5-shot lead. She chunked a chip on the 11th hole, which led to a double. She had a couple horrific putts. Her par putt on 17 also was horrific. Is that stuff harsh? Yeah. Well, guess what? Like, we're talking the top of the game. In order to win the biggest championship, like, you know, it's going to be under a microscope. That's why it's so cool. That's why it's so rewarding when you win. That's why it's so devastating when you lose. And to break it down, she just collapsed. Like, that's just what it was. And the downhill putt like that, too, is probably the easiest, like, decent putt to hit. Like, you just get it started on line with, like, any kind of decent stroke, and it'll have a chance to hit the hole on the way by. And Yuka Saso, for example, like, she was above the hole in the second playoff hole, and she gave it a run and hit it like 8 feet by, and ended up making the 8-foot comeback.
That comebacker, that was maybe the most impressive moment of the whole fucking day, man.
She
rolling
buried
that birdie putt that far by. I almost threw up. Just in terms of nervousness, because you're like, oh, just get it up there close, and you know, if it goes in, oh my God, we win this thing. If it doesn't, then we're just close. Ran it right by. Having the stones to make that comebacker was very impressive.
That was awesome. I thought she was going to – I was like, oh, my God, this awesome tournament is going to come down to this dog shit finish where, like, she had the birdie putt. Everyone's thinking, oh, there's a good chance she makes this. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, 8-footer for par to extend it. No chance she makes this. And then she made that one and ultimately got it done. Olympic is famous for collapses and big names. A man by the name of Arnold Palmer in 1966. He had a 7-shot lead on the back nine. Billy Casper ended up making a few birdies and snatched it and won that one. And then Jim Furyk famously snap-hooked one on 16 on the par 5 when they moved the tee box up. And the electric factory that is Webb Simpson came in and got the W, and is known as the U.S. Open champion from 2012 at Olympic Club. So not the first person to be a pretty big name, be the most recognizable name on the leaderboard, be probably the most impactful, at least here in the U.S. with the U.S. media, and then not get it done at Olympics. So that kind of continues. Mike Finn. So Mike Finn caddied for the 17-year-old amateur Mega Ghana, who made a run, was leading the tournament, had a phenomenal. She was talking about how she had to do like her calculus homework, and then her calculus teacher tweeted back at her like, "Don't worry about the homework," and she had a great storyline going. Well, her caddy, local Olympic Club member Mike Finn, was the same motherfucker who stumbled onto our podcast when we recorded our podcast at Olympic Club when he was putting as the sun was setting in San Francisco, and we were talking on the show about, like, how about this guy living the dream, and he came over, he ended up being a foreplay fan and was asking us about our games. That dude met this girl on Monday and became her caddy for the whole week. You put that information into the group chat over the weekend, and I don't think I had a proper response, because I don't think I responded at all, because I was just like, I almost couldn't believe it. Like, I was just thinking like, oh, that's interesting. But then the more I got to thinking about it, I was like, that's amazing that guy just stumbled onto our show and then ended up caddying for the low amateur at the U.S. Women's Open. Like, I don't know if we're giving that its proper due to how amazing that was, but now, like, we've had him on our show. He should come back on our show now. It's like the chances of that, it didn't even, I was like, that can't be the same name.
Right.
That can't be the same person. And then they had they were talking about how, like, she had a huge gallery and most of the fans were like Olympic Club members that were out there because they know Mike, who's like the Olympic Club member. So the whole thing was like, what surreal world am I living in? And then as soon as I found that out, she doubled the first hole, which is like a par 5. So I had pulled the audio from the podcast. I was going to put that out and be like, this is the same guy. And then immediately she double bogeyed, and I was like, all right, we're not going to draw a ton of attention to this whole thing. But we got to get him back on and just talk through the whole experience, because he met her on Monday. I saw him in the fucking parking lot on Tuesday. He was like driving by me, and he was like, "Riggs, what's up? It's Mike." I was on the show, and I was like, "Oh, what's up, man?" He's like, "Yeah, I got on a bag for an amateur," and he gave me the name, and I didn't recognize it, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, whatever, good luck." And then Thursday, I look at the fucking leaderboard, and I'm like, "That's Mike's Curls leading the U.S. Open." So, what a bizarre coincidence that was.
Bizarre. The things that had to happen for us to know that guy, like, insane.
We had no plan to record that podcast at Olympic. We were like rushing. We almost missed our flight. Like that. It's the things that, like you're saying, that had to happen for us to meet him are insane.
Dude, I was not paying attention to the podcast. I was just looking around Olympic, and I'm like, look at this fucking guy over here. Like, had I just been like in the moment with you guys, like people are putting around us all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. It's a golf course. There's a putting green. You know, crazy. Preposterous.
That was so wild, and he ended up having an awesome week out there. Obviously, it was part of one of the coolest storylines that was getting, probably the most press of the whole thing up until Sunday when she kind of fell out of contention. So, awesome stuff from her. Great work by our guy Mike Finn, who we'll have to have back. He was the guy that we asked, like Frankie, you asked him, like, is there any process to what you're doing out there while you're putting, or are you just putting? He's like, no, I'm just kind of fucking.
Yeah.
He might have. I think he slow played us. I think he was acting like, no, I'm just out here. I take my shoes off, have a couple beers. When he like clearly knows his shit.
Clearly.
Yeah, I think they said he's like a scratch. He's a real good player, and he was like, when I talked to him, he was like hawking to get a bag. Like he was around that area. He's like, I will end up on a fucking golf bag for this tournament. And he did. And he ended up having a great performance. So you got to know what you're doing. Like, if you're in a U.S. Women's Open for the biggest storyline and she continued to play well, like, he's giving her reads on putts. He's telling her where to land chips so that they end up next to the hole. Like, he's dialed into that shit.
Totally.
That's what a thing to have happen.
That guy doesn't just purposely putt.
No.
Without any purpose whatsoever. Are you kidding me? He knew he had a process.
Did we lose all that audio? Well, I guess it doesn't matter. We're recording locally. For everyone at home, I mean, we have this like the Cisco WebEx thing just says like it's being recorded, and we just didn't know what was happening. And then it said it was not being recorded anymore. So this whole show could just possibly be just gone.
I think we're once again falling victim to the internet at Barstool Sports HQ.
All right.
That would be good as long as we have everything, because it'd be a real shame if we lost it all.
That would be a real shame. I feel like we've had a good time today.
We have had a good time.
Been quite the enjoyable time discussing golf. The only thing that can make it better, really, is maybe a Macanudo cigar. And I'm actually looking out at our girl, the Macanudo lady that we have talked about many times, who enjoys cigars sometimes in her car on the way to work.
Yep.
And I've just been thinking about how on this Monday afternoon here at the Barstool Classic, where there are giant snakes in the toilets, I'm going to have a cigar and enjoy my afternoon.
I went golfing with my dad, my girlfriend's dad. We were out on the course. Shout out Rockville Links, as always. It's become the home club. Love that fucking place.
Shout out.
And I was like, you guys want a cigar today? Like, is that something that you guys would enjoy? And they kind of like, my dad was like, yeah, like he didn't really say anything. And we're on like the 6th or 7th green, and some guy walks by. I guess he was just using the course as his, walking route, as people sometimes do.
Hiking, a trail maybe?
Yeah, but it's like it's through the course. Like I feel like members like to do that, right? Like they'll walk the cart paths and they'll just walk the course kind of. The course was closed the day we were there, so definitely a local guy that just likes to walk the course. He was smoking a cigar and he walked right by us, and we smelt it. We felt it. He had a huge puff around him, and we're all looking at this guy, but no one said a word. And my dad goes, "Yeah, I'll take that cigar." Like I'll take a cigar now. Like at first he was like, I don't know, it's early. It was like 9:30 in the morning. He's like, I'll take a cigar now. So I popped open that Macanudos, and man, was it an enjoyable experience. Just everything about it, like just the case, and it's just such a good experience, man. Like when you smell one and when you're around one, it's so just, I don't know, man. It's fucking awesome to just, it's just a cool thing to be a part of.
It's perfect for the golf course. It truly is. Like I had never been a cigar guy, and these Macanudos, the way that they they're just like, well, first of all, they're the best selling handmade cigar in the United States. They use like the finest hand selected tobaccos, which we talked about on this little call with them, this WebEx call that we had, where they were going through kind of what goes into it, how carefully it's done, and it just delivers. Their cigars are crafted in the Dominican Republic, Honduras, and Nicaragua. They've got the Inspirado White and the Inspirado Orange. The Orange, it's kind of like a medium-bodied, smooth, creamy. It's got a little bit of a citrus flavor. That's my favorite. But the White is, I mean, I dabble with the White just as much. It's got lots of flavor. It's mellow in strength. So do yourself a favor. You can enter and win a limited edition branded golf set and a humidor for your Macanudo Inspirado smokes at macanudo.com/barstool. You got to be 21 plus only for entry. But go to macanudo.com/barstool. Get involved in the Inspirado White, the Inspirado Orange game, the Macanudos. They're so good and they're perfect for the golf course, perfect for all kinds of occasions, especially this summer. All right, gentlemen. Yeah, we've got a giant rattlesnake in one of the bathrooms at the Wolf Dancer here at the Barstool Classic. There's just a huge rattlesnake in the bathroom.
Yeah, I saw somebody tweeted a picture of it at us yesterday, I think, and that's scary. Obviously, we talked about snakes a week or two ago, and they're just out there, and now you have to deal with those. It's no bueno.
Yeah, I feel like if you live anywhere but the Northeast, and maybe even the Northeast, I don't know. Luckily, I haven't had this situation on Long Island, but is like checking the toilet, like underneath the seat and all that stuff. Is that a thing that people have to do when they go to the bathroom?
Look at that, dude. That is crazy.
Nightmare. Absolute nightmare. But like, have you ever seen the videos of the snakes like curled up in the toilet?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That to me, is that something that...
You just affected Jake Bass's life. I watched him have a physical reaction to that, and now it's the only thing he's going to be able to think about. It's like the one time, and I don't mean to do this to anybody, but like when the one time someone says, do you check behind the shower curtain to see if there's a murderer in the bathroom every time?
All
and it's
the time.
like, no, but I will do that now forever. Same thing with the snake where you're just sitting there and you're like, fuck, it could happen.
But is that something that's like more common in like certain areas of the world? Like they just somehow get in. I mean, obviously where snakes are, they just get into pipes. They end up in the toilet.
I want to say it happens more in warm climates. Like I growing up in the Midwest, we didn't deal with a ton of snakes.
Snakes love the heat. That is true. They love the heat. But I mean, there is a sign. There is a sign here at the Barstool Classic that says, like, due to recent snake activity, you have to be extremely careful. It says, please use extra caution due to recent snake activity on resort grounds, in particular at dusk on all paths and at times in areas with tall grass or heavier foliage. So, yeah, they're just a problem. Like, if you have to put out a fucking sign, that means the snakes are just a problem. It's not a joke. It's not a funny thing you see on TikTok. It's just a real-life problem that human beings that are at this resort are being told to be on high alert for fucking evil serpents that slither around on the ground and attack people. It's crazy.
Is funny. It is funny to think about the threshold for the sign. Like, at a certain point, they're like, yeah, we got to put a sign up. Like, it gets so bad that they're like, there's so many of these that we got to put up a physical sign that does not move to let people know that snakes could be around here.
Real incidents occurred that led to a decision process making where someone typed those words into a document, printed them up, put them behind a thing, and made it a sign that folks could see. That's real. That's just that's super real. What the fuck? What are we doing here? I'm scared. I'm scared sitting here. Like, what if one came out of the ceiling while we're trying to record the show?
That'd be incredible. Not for you, but for the video.
You guys watch this? You guys watch this fucking black hole documentary on Netflix?
No.
Do you guys realize what's going on out there? Does anyone ever think about it? Does anyone care what's happening?
The most I think about it is when on this show. The most I think about space is on this show. When you say to me, have you watched the black hole documentary?
Black holes, and I could be, I don't know what I'm really talking about.
This is a game of
here.
telephone now with you and Netflix.
Black holes legitimately could ruin or alter all of the science we know about the universe. Like what it does, like after watching this documentary, like they know nothing about it. no information, right? And it's
Sounds
just
like an awesome documentary.
It's like like they took the whole thing's about they took a picture of one. They took
I know
all
what you
this
mean.
data and they finally got a picture based out of data, which isn't even a picture, even though it is a picture, because pictures on phones are just data, right? Pixels all put together from fucking data points and stuff. It's fucking insane. But that's basically what they do. But like black holes, we know no information about what they do, why they're there, what happens inside them, to the point where like all of our algorithms and all of our equations about what we predict about the universe, like where it goes, what happens out there, the fact that this thing exists and we don't know anything about it, and that it seemingly goes against all of the rules and regulations that we've put forth about what happens in space, it really just puts science on, like, you know, in a blender. Like, these scientists are like, I don't know what's going on in there.
Hit it hard, boys.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.